discussion of what was happening at that point that would cause either John F. Kennedy or Khrushchev to feel like they had the upper hand. And those are the kinds of discussions that won't be in the reenactments, but you're getting the active learning taking place, the historical thinking, the triangulating of primary sources, or sometimes secondary, but you're pulling together this historical information and then processing it so that you really creating the reenactments is where I think a lot of opportunities for learning exist, and so there will be better reenactments. There will be more than likely multiple versions of the Battle of Gettysburg, for example, because people will take the first version and add to it, and maybe the Gettysburg Historical Society of something or other will say, well, that's good, but there's so much more, and let's just add this to it. And then maybe some students will do the same thing, but not exactly at that level. So I think in a lot of ways it's allowing for all of that to happen. It tends to the higher quality reenactments will have the system designed so that they will bubble up to the top because of number of views, rating, and things like that. So, but we won't shut anyone out.
You have a question?
Yeah, no, as it stands, like as the TwHistory.org is right now, you can just view existing feeds, so they're not, you can't move it to another time,
right?
So it displays for another.
Yeah, it's more like a directory of these are the reenactments that we've done so far, and we sometimes will write a little something about a reenactment that's currently taking place. But yeah, right now it's a lot like just a directory, and not all the reenactments are our own. So people who run with this idea and we find each other just on Twitter. We've archived the ones that we did. We used a system that just basically kind of sucks in the tweets from. We give it the characters that we want to kind of record. The other ones just kind of go out into Twitter, which, as some of you know, Twitter isn't very permanent. So, I mean, it's nice that the National Archives are now, or the Library of Congress rather, is now storing those. But we want a better. The newer system will store them in a way that you can find them easily.
So you can see on Gettysburg, there's 68 pages worth of archives with about 20 tweets per page. So you're looking at close to 1,400, tweets there. And yeah, as it is now, you can kind of read through it page by page or something. But
a teacher could say, I want you to look at page 65 at TwHistory.org of the Gettysburg.
Sure.
So that they would have that bit, or from page this to page this. So it kind of functions as a digital textbook in a way.
Right. Yeah. You could definitely refer to it, and I think we've tried to preserve some of the where the information came from. A lot of the stuff we've used is web-based sources, but we've also used some books, and so there's kind of some citations that you could use to go back and find things. Like Harper's Weekly is a newspaper that was published back at the time, and they were based out of New York. It was a Yankee newspaper. Somebody's gone through the work of actually scanning in, OCRing, and putting all that stuff onto the internet. And they did a lot of work to do that. And it's like, yeah, let's use this and get it out there so people can find it. And so, I had a one rebel foot soldier, one rebel kind of religious guy, and then this Yankee newspaper. And so I'm going back and forth reading, the Yankee paper telling about how it was so awesome at this battle that we totally ran the rebels out. And then the rebels are like, yeah, usually the winner chases the loser off the battlefield. They didn't chase us. They barely beat us. And it's like kind of you see the difference between the reporting, and you start deconstructing it, figuring out what happened. And so if you go and read through the original sources, you can find it, hopefully looking at a reenactment that's already been done, you can have some of that that's already been pulled out, and you could definitely do some things, refer students to some certain issues, and then have them make some decisions based off the more limited scope of whatever was tweeted and archived. But obviously getting them in, like Tom said, and actually doing the reenactment themselves, you're going to have a lot higher cognitive process of deciding what should go in there rather than just kind of reading what somebody else had done. But I think either's pretty good.
And just one other quick comment about the new system that's being built is it will allow for a timeline, and so you'll have a little bit more of some different visualizations on the tweets, and you'll see dots on a timeline that you can kind of mouse over. That'll be exciting. I mean, that's another way to view the progression of time in an event, historical event. And the other thing is we're working on a way to compress them so that teachers could say, well, I really want to do the Battle of Gettysburg, but guess what? I only have a week. So basically you can give it a start and end time and say just fire away. And it will just, you'll see a lot of tweets happening because it's 3 months worth and you're going to do it in a week. So those are fun things that we're playing with, but we do really think that there's value in the idea of synchronizing, this is what was happening 157 years ago or whatever, because you feel the history in a different way. If I could add one other thing, that is that this was just like a crazy idea that started, and now we're working on our second chunk of funding, and we have some pretty high-level organizations excited about it. And so if I could add anything, I would just say if you have an idea that you think is worthwhile, then the web makes trying things like this really a lot easier, and it's a way that we've been able to just kind of run with an idea at basically low or no cost. I mean, we're all just volunteering. Nobody's making piles of money here. We're all just doing this because we've found something that's a really kind of absorbing hobby. So in all of our spare time as PhD students, but then there's the research component that is also very exciting. So there are folks at conferences like ICLS that were very interested in the poster that we did on TwHistory, and so there's certainly potential to look at how this could be implemented in the classroom. So that's TwHistory, and I guess we have a couple minutes if there's any other questions.
One quick question.
Yeah.
Besides history, do you think that Twitter can be used in another subject? Like, have you thought about it in what besides? It's very useful to teach history, but what other subjects can be taught with Twitter, or can you use Twitter?
Well, my quick answer is that I think you could do anything that has a creative component that you want to collaborate with others or share out ideas. I think there was a really neat there was a project called Such Tweet Sorrow, where basically a lot of Shakespeare was put on Twitter and shared that way, and very interesting how that all worked out. So you can Google for that. And I've actually, in a more general sense, I've seen teachers starting to use Twitter for instant feedback. You have to be careful that it's just, there has to be the same kinds of cautions with it being used for positive ways, not to distract from the learning that's happening. But I have seen teachers use it for students in a classroom or in an online learning situation to collaborate. The teacher will say, okay, I want you to talk about this, go. And they'll be collaborating back and forth with people using Twitter. And they can see a lot of ideas flowing through, more than just working in partners or something like that. So I think those are definitely things that could be used more broadly.
Yeah, if you don't have an iClicker, but you want you want to do an iClicker style,
Vote.
voting and things like that, you can do that kind of stuff. There's I was reading